Big McKee, Patrick Brown, Go Vols 24/7 here at Bank of America Stadium in Charlotte, North Carolina, where Tennessee beats NC State 51-10. And the turning point, Mr. Brown, there were a lot of offensive points, obviously. The defense did not give up an offensive touchdown, has not given up an offensive touchdown at all this season. And the turning point in this football game came from that Tennessee defense when walk-on redshirt senior safety Will Brooks picks off a pass that Joshua Josephs helped on by forcing Grayson McCall to lob it over him and just could not throw it with enough accuracy. And Will Brooks picks it off and runs it back 85 yards for a touchdown. And the race was on from there for Tennessee.
Yeah, Ben, it looked, for all intents and purposes, like it was about to be 10-10 at that point. And NC State hit a big play with a little bit of a gadget where they lined up half their offensive line out wide. Then they hit a couple of nice runs, the only really good runs they had in the entire game. But then that was such a momentum-changing play. Tennessee's able to tack on a field goal right before halftime and then come out in the second half and with a kind of a kill shot drive there to open the second half. And you look up and it goes from almost being 10-10 to 27-3, and that was pretty much all she wrote.
Yeah, it absolutely was. And a big reason why it was all she wrote is because of the play of the line of scrimmage for Tennessee in the trenches, both sides of the football. We'll talk about the offense here in a moment, but defensively, Tennessee's defensive front just absolutely wrecked shop and owned NC State in the trenches.
Yeah, Ben, it's early in the season. We're still finding some things out, but we've heard all offseason how good this Tennessee defensive line is. They lived up to that billing. We talked all week about NC State struggling against Western Carolina, blocking them up front last week. Those things played out tonight in this game. I think Tennessee ended up with 13 tackles for loss by 16 different guys. I think NC State was under 50 yards rushing. I think their top running back was like 7 carries for -4 yards. When you make teams one-dimensional, it's really hard to get going as an offense. And then this NC State offense just, they never looked comfortable after about the first quarter. And I don't know what they did up on third down. They got their first 3. I don't think they got one the rest of the game. And we talked about that coming into the game too as a big point for Tennessee, that they need to get off the field on defense. They did. Got a defensive touchdown. Defensive line dominated. Tackles for loss. It's looking like it could be the best defense Tennessee's had under Josh Heupel for sure.
Yeah, and coming out of this game, you watch that defensive performance, and then you watch the offense that scored, 44 points without the pick six, I believe. And those 44 points was despite them not playing their best football. I didn't watch that game and think that the offense played their best football. I thought they played well. Nico was fine. Dylan Sampson had a great game. The line of scrimmage won the game. They had to settle for a lot, I feel like, because of what NC State was giving them defensively. And I asked Dylan Sampson just a moment ago, what does that mean going forward? And he said, we left a lot of points out there. We could have scored 60 or 70 tonight if we wanted to, or if we would have finished some drives rather than settling for some field goals.
Yeah, Nico missed a couple throws. There was a long one down to Brew in the first half, a red zone third down to Squirrel where he was open against the safety and just missed him a little bit. Nico said he played okay. He was all right. You like to see that he threw that interception, which he said he forced. Comes out his next throw and hits Squirrel wide on a downfield shot.
And just dropped it in the bucket.
Yeah, so that shows you a little bit about his mindset and his confidence. And it felt like Tennessee's offense didn't really get out of third gear maybe, and yet they ended up with 460 yards and 44 points. And that's just kind of how they are. I mean, they don't have to always be. Maybe the 2022 team spoiled us. It was just like hard. It's just like rock and roll all the time. And this group still productive, but maybe not as rock and roll.
Yeah, and I thought Nico played well. Second interception, not really his fault.
No, that's protection. Yeah.
Yeah, the stat line's going to look in that regard worse than it actually is.
And the bomb to Kitzelman on a scramble drill might have been his best play of the night. Gets called back. Just kind of how it goes sometimes.
Yeah, so Nico played well, but there's no doubt the running game was the most impressive. Nico with his legs, very impressive. Had a big 31-yard touchdown towards the end of his performance. But Dylan Sampson, big night, as we mentioned. But then Deshaun Bishop forced into action as that running back number 2. Cam Selden out with a separate injury than his shoulder that he dealt with over the offseason. The running game was terrific tonight.
Yeah, tight ends played a huge role in this game, Ben. We saw Tennessee in 12 personnel, which is 2 tight ends, more than any game they've been in, and maybe more than they've played in a long time. And they touted those guys, that trio all season with Kitzelman, Holden Stays, who caught a touchdown, Ethan Davis. Those guys were vital. And we talked to Kitzelman. He said that the staff said, hey, you're going to have to cowboy up and block a lot in this game, but yet they still found a way to get those 2 guys in the end zone, and that's 3 of Nico's touchdowns now have gone to tight ends. So they've been a big part of this offense. They were a big part of the running game tonight. I think he ended up about 250 yards. Sampson had another 100-yard game. He's got 3 starts, 3 100-yard games going back to the Citrus Bowl. So the run game continues to carry the mail for this offense, and if they're able to do that, and it just gets really, really hard to stop them.
Absolutely. Big win for Tennessee tonight, 51-10. over NC State. An impressive win, and one that I think you should feel good about if you're a Tennessee fan, because obviously the score was what it was against a good opponent away from Neyland Stadium. But then you look around college football, it's a very weird day. So a very nice win for Tennessee in that regard as well.
Show of force. And
I kind of think it was a statement win today.
Well, you get to this point of the season, and you can count on maybe two hands the number of teams that have had eye-opening wins, and I think this one goes down as an eye-opening win for Tennessee for sure.
Absolutely, and we've got all the coverage of it at GoVols247.com. He's Patrick Brown. I'm Ben McKee.